All right, so what's going to happen is this. We're going to do week 6 and 7 tonight, tomorrow 8, then 9, and whatever. So every night that we broadcast, we're going to have a week done. And the reason why we're doing this is because when I leave for a month, I'm not going to be broadcasting anything, nothing, zero. So we're going to catch ourselves up in real time. So here is week number 6. We already had some of these games, a great game. So Philadelphia and Green Bay, Buffalo and Pittsburgh, St. Louis and San Francisco, Minnesota and Tampa Bay. Let's go to Philadelphia and Green Bay. So this is 3rd and 10 in the first quarter. Ron Jaworski, right to Parker, and Parker scores. Rodney Parker, and makes it 7-0 Philadelphia. Lynn Dickey, he's going to throw. It's intercepted by Robinson. Still in the first quarter, Philadelphia's Ron Jaworski. Back to throw. They throw to Smith, and he will go all the way and make it 14-0. In the second quarter, Beverly will punt, and it's blocked. Picked up by Bunning in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia on a 2nd and 7, the second play. Jaworski to throw. Jaworski got to Harold Carmichael. They had a 21-0 lead on a 4th and 7. This one was no good. And Green Bay had trouble. Then 4th and 12. They're going for Lynn Dickey. Lynn Dickey throws to the end zone and no good. So Philadelphia had to punt, and then they go to Ivory. Ivory on the run. Ivory ran it, and he looked good. He could go all the way, and he's trying to beat everybody else on a run. It was supposed to be a simple run, and Eddie Lee Ivory goes 73 yards. 21-7, Tony Franklin, and he made it 24-7. On a 4th and 1, Green Bay went for it. Middleton short. And then here's Jaworski on the play action. Intercepted. 24-7, Philadelphia. Dickey, it's 26-7. In the third, long kick, and this one was good. It was Tim Birney, 26-10. Then all of a sudden, here's Green Bay. Lynn Dickey on a 4th and 7. No good. Still 26-10, intercepted. And Herman Edwards had one man to beat.
Flag on the play.
And there he goes. It was the flag. They declined that 4th and 2. Tony Franklin. And that one was good. And 29-10. So Jaworski, 3 touchdowns. It was 1 interception. It looked really good. Philadelphia it was 17 punts in the game. And that would have been our game that we had as Philadelphia beats Green Bay. And other achievements. There we go. In other action, the Buffalo Bills beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have lost 3 in a row, 10-7. The Steelers were good, but they had 3 turnovers, and that was ugly. Joe Ferguson was terrible. Terry Bradshaw was bad. But when you looked at the highlights, let's take a look at the highlights real quick. In the fourth quarter, they stopped on fourth down. Mike Meyer with the kick here of 28 yards, and that one was good. And the Steelers are in trouble. They are in big trouble. Sidney Thornton, they were driving again. Look at this, Sidney Thornton, and then he fumbled. 10-7, in trouble. The St. Louis Cardinals won 4 in a row, 17-14. Eric Williams. You took a look at the stats, game stats, and San Francisco right there, they look really good. Steve DeBerg. On the other side, Jim Hart looked very good. And when you took a look at the game, it was 17-14. All the way down, lots of fumbles. So Dwight Clark lost it, but Theodis Brown trying to come out of their own end zone. Should have taken a knee, but the fumble. And that was tough. And then Dwight Clark, Steve DeBerg on the first and goal. Steve DeBerg right there. And that was it. 14-7. 14-10. And then Pat Tilley from Jim Hart on the last play of the game. Jim Hart, last play, and that's the game. They win the game, 17-14. Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Tampa Bay 14-9 win. Minnesota lost 3 in a row. And you can see a very low-scoring game, 20 punts, no field goals. It must have been a safety. It was a 7-7 game in the third. And then Doug Williams in the end zone. And the interception here in Tampa Bay. Tommy Kramer. He threw it to Lewis. And that's Dave Lewis. And then Gordon Jones. Tearaway Jones from Pitt. So Williams right to Jones. And a 14-9 Tampa Bay win. So when you take a look at this, the teams in the standings here, Dallas 5-1, St. Louis and Philadelphia 4-2. We're actually going to do the rest of the week right now. Chicago and Detroit looking good there. Atlanta undefeated. LA 4-2. San Francisco, New Orleans 0-6. In the AFC East, New England still undefeated. Very good. Buffalo looking better. The Steelers in trouble in the Central. Everybody's 2-4. Cleveland is 4-2. And Kansas City and Denver is 2-4. That win by Buffalo really propels those teams ahead of everyone else. Oakland is in trouble. They lost 4 straight. San Diego won 6. Week number 7, which is today, New England at Buffalo. New England at Buffalo, LA at Cleveland. A very good week. Green Bay at Detroit, Atlanta and Houston. Baltimore, Miami. Baltimore needing this win for their season. Denver, Minnesota. San Francisco, New Orleans, St. Louis, New York. Oakland trying to save their season. Dallas and Philadelphia. Oh, the rematch. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Kansas City and San Diego. Chicago, Tampa Bay. And New York and Washington. Let's take a look right here at week number 7. First, New England and Buffalo. Buffalo 30-20 win. New England, their first loss. Joe Ferguson, 3 touchdowns. And you can see they just wiped New England out. Wiped them out. Grogan only had 54 passing yards. Buffalo just absolutely crushed them. In the highlights, Reuben Gant from Ferguson gave him the lead. And Joe Ferguson, you can see this, a big lead here to Reuben Gant. And then Horsley Ivory tied it up, hooks, and then they ended up scoring again, Joe Cribbs. And the Buffalo Bills 30-20 leaders. The Rams and Cleveland, and the Rams by 1 point. Just like the 1947 title game, but that one was 15-14. This one's 13-12. 3-0 in turnovers for the Rams. Ferragamo, 3 interceptions for Cleveland. Sipe, not as much. The highlights at 13-12 in the fourth quarter. The winning touchdown was this one. First down and 10, Ferragamo went and he threw it right down to Denard. And that was it. 13-12. Green Bay and Detroit. Detroit, a huge win over Green Bay. Just blew them out. Led 10-7, then just crushed them. Not really turnovers, just who they were. 33-7, Detroit beating Green Bay. Atlanta and Houston. Houston, a 28-9 win, knocking Atlanta down from undefeated. It's Earl Campbell, and that was Houston just blowing out Atlanta and looking good doing it. 3 interceptions. There were 5 turnovers. Houston threw 4 interceptions. It was just an ugly game, but Houston won, and they're trying to get back into the game into everything as Cleveland lost. Miami and Baltimore. Baltimore 9-0 the win. All the field goals in the world. No, they missed the extra point. And not the greatest of games. 18 punts. But when you look at highlights, Joe Washington, 11-yard run. 3-0 in the fourth in Washington, and that's the game. So 9-0. Baltimore saves their season. Denver and Minnesota. Denver 40-17 win, and Minnesota is 2-5. They've lost 4 straight. Craig Morton looking very good. Denver rebounding after a very bad week last week. They beat Minnesota. They look good doing it. They only punted 3 times. They just blew them out 40-17. San Francisco and New Orleans. And New Orleans gets their first win. San Francisco, a huge defeat. So Ray Warshing missed this field goal in his Superdome. And Montana was holding and short. And that ended up losing the game for them 9-7. St. Louis and New York. St. Louis has won 5 straight, 35-13. You look at the stats there. What a game. What a game they had. They just blew them out. Seattle and Oakland. Oakland saves their season, a 10-7 win. An ugly, ugly game. But a 10-7 win there at the very end. Was 10-0. Then Largent from Zorn. Late, but Seattle time expired. They couldn't get anything here in the Hail Mary at the very end. Jim Zorn. And Oakland is still in. If they would have lost and gone 2-5, probably wouldn't have done anything. It probably would have been over for them. Dallas and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, revenge on Dallas. As they go, fourth quarter was 21-17. And then could Dallas do it again on the last one? Danny White threw it deep, and this one was caught. But nope, not enough time. 4th and 2. I see they were trying to win the game here. The throw and the interception. They were lucky on that one. Danny White was intercepted by Randy Logan right here at 21-17. And the Philadelphia Eagles are now 5-2. Same with Dallas. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh 25-5 at home. Ron Johnson looking good. The Steelers, great. When they don't turn the ball over, they're freaking incredible. And they show it here. 25-5, they win. They led 17-0. And then at the very end, 17-5. A block punt. Could have been bad, but it went out of the end zone. But then Ken Anderson was intercepted by Ron Johnson. And here in the cold rain, the Steelers also with the safety. So there were 2 safeties. Could have been 23-3. 25-5 your final, and the Steelers still salvage their season. San Diego by a point over Kansas City. 16-15. You can see all the stats there and the highlights. It was 15-13, then Rolf Benerschka. Keeping an undefeated season alive. And San Diego, good night. 16-15, they're 7-0 and number 1 in the AFC now. Chicago and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has won 2 in a row. And they lost. I mean, right now they're pretty solid. Doug Williams, 17-14. And Walter Payton, a touchdown, lost the onside kick. That was it. And Tampa wins. New York and Washington, 10-7. Washington in overtime. Theismann on a 4th down. Hit Art Monk. And then Mosley won it. And 10-7 to win there. So now what we do is at the end of week number 7, we're going to take a look at the teams in the standings. Dallas, St. Louis, and Philadelphia are all 5-2. They're all 5-2 in the East. In the Central, Detroit is 5-2. Tampa Bay and Chicago are following at 4-3. Atlanta and L.A. Atlanta 6-1. L.A. is 5-2. So Atlanta with the loss that was big. You could see 5-2, 5-2, 6-1, and the wild cards are all 5-2. For the AFC, New England is 6-1. Cleveland is 4-3. The Steelers in Houston are 3-4. And then San Diego is 7-0. Denver is 5-2. Kansas City is now 4-3. Oakland has won again. So when you look at this, look at Cincinnati, look at Cleveland, look at Pittsburgh and Houston, you never know. New England lost. Got blown out. All right, let's take a look really quickly. Tampa Bay. They had a guy, Tearaway Jones. Here it is. Gordon Jones from University of Pittsburgh. Rooster, he's now working as a security guard there. So, taking a look quickly at the league leaders. Jim Plunkett doing well. Gary Danielson, Brian Sipe, Danny White. Looking at the rushing, Dorsett is leading everybody in yardage. Peyton is close. Pruitt and Campbell catches. Kellen Winslow. Total offense is Tony Dorsett. Defense. Interceptions is Ron Johnson for the Steelers. The field goal percentage, Garo Yepremian, 10 of 10 for Tampa Bay. The worst, Benny Ricardo out of New Orleans. The punter, the average, Dave Jennings for the New York Giants. And for the kick returners, Horace Ivory for New England, 2 touchdowns. And there you go. All right. Looking at next week, which will be tomorrow because we're going to be on break. So it'll be tomorrow. You're going to have New Orleans and Atlanta in Week 8, Washington and Baltimore, Kansas City and Chicago, Houston and Cincinnati, New York at Dallas could be a trap game. Detroit and Denver will be a big one in Week 8. Tampa Bay and Green Bay, San Francisco and LA, Pittsburgh and Miami. That's going to be a humongous one. A very, very big one. If the Steelers win that one, they're back in business. If Miami wins that one, they're in business. Oakland and New England. New England is 6-1. After losing, Oakland can go 4-4. Buffalo at the Jets. Cleveland at San Diego. Philadelphia at St. Louis in the rain. Minnesota will go to the Kingdom and Seattle. All right, that's going to be it for today. Have a great day. We'll see you later.